Salute, salute. Knicks and Bruises, we back. I got my co-host as always, and we got the delusional one back in the building. Peace Queen. What up,
Peace.
King? Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black is time. How y'all doing?
Super good.
Excited, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And wait,
elated.
I'm like,
Uh,
I know what the coach is talking about now when he says you got to focus on every game. Because that Indiana game, I was like, what is this? I'm ready for the playoffs.
yeah, whatever, right? Um, yeah, Saturday, 6 o'clock. It's been announced. I don't
Nice.
know if any other games have or any of the following games, game 2, 3 has been announced, but we know when we playing. And I can't wait too. This is gonna be a long week.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but let's get into it. I mean, the playoffs. I gotta give you your credit, Queen. You coined it. Well, not coined it, but I was saying X Factor. You've been saying swing factor. I like the ring to swing factor. So,
Let's go with it.
we're gonna talk about some swing factors in this series. Now, to me, when I say swing factor, I kind of mean like under the radar. Um,
Mm.
so I kind of going with the expectation that we're gonna get what we expect from the normal Brunson, Randle, Spider.
Right.
You know what I mean? Defensively, Allen on their side, I guess, and Mitch on our side, but maybe something that really could swing the game here and there, or even the series. Whether it's a player, whether it's a coach, a coaching strategy,
Mhm.
um, and anything like that. So, I kind of want to highlight quickly. I think he's going to be a big X factor, or swing factor. Somebody that could swing a game. We may not be even winning the game, and him actually win the game for us. Um, and I'm putting Grimes in that category as well. So those are the two that I'm gonna highlight. If you guys want to maybe give me two, and then we'll kind of pick some questions. You could ask me something about my guys, or who I decide, and vice versa, and we'll get right into it.
Queen, you want to take first?
No, you go ahead.
All
It's
right.
been a minute. Go ahead.
Appreciate it. So yeah, my X factor always starts with Coach Tibbs first. He got to get everybody prepared. He needs to think of every scenario possible, especially when they run zone on us. Multiple
Mhm.
ways to get out the zone, not just that single set that we do, even though he does switch it up occasionally, but just be prepared, which I know Tibbs would be. And of course, relay that to the team, get them situated and ready. Um, and then I'm going with Julius Randle, the redemption playoff series for him to come out with that mindset. It's a lot of pressure. So when pressure comes on Julius and he gets in his head, we need him to be calm, prepared, and zenned out and ready, which I know he is. He got this time off. So those are pretty much the two that I'm leaning towards on that aspect.
Nice, those are good ones.
Yeah, I was about to say that's pretty good because for me, I have Julius and Brunson as locks, but that's just a lot of trust because I feel like it's a house of cards. If those two guys struggle,
Mm,
it's going to take a lot for us to make up,
Yeah.
for them. And I'm not talking about struggling because not scoring a lot of points because they doubled them or they did what they did and they made the right play and the ball just wasn't in their hands. I think that's acceptable. But if they just don't show up, yeah. So I'm just assuming that Randall and Brunson are definite. I'm assuming that. Um,
agreed.
I think, a swing factor, is an obvious one, and I've been saying this forever, is just, who's going to play well off of Randall and Brunson. And to your credit, Tony, you said this earlier. It doesn't have to be everybody every game. It could be different people on different games, right? If Quickly is not on per se, somebody else is. If Grimes or Josh isn't, somebody else is. But we have to have at least two people, you know, kind of being able to play off those guys, whatever stunts they're gonna do, whatever
Mhm.
blitzing, whatever they're gonna do to get the ball out of their hands, that somebody comes through in their abs. Like that's an obvious swing factor. Like if we have players who do that, it's a wrap. The Knicks win this. If the Knicks shoot and score well, regardless of what they do with Randle or Brunson, I think we win in 5.
Mm.
I feel like that's just how potent we are when those 2 guys are doing what they do and everybody else around them is hitting shots, driving to the basket. Like it's just over.
I
You
mean,
know? Mhm.
that's a great point. Just because when you talk about the 2 guys that I'm highlighting, um, I mean, those guys, that's kind of what I'm expecting. If they do that, that's a swing factor in itself.
Right.
But you can kind of say it for the whole team. You know what I mean? Like we haven't really shot the ball well as a whole
Right.
this season. So you know, if the team is shooting well, oh my god, we totally different.
Right.
But go ahead, continue.
And then my other swing factor is the Knicks defense. Listen,
Mm.
where I think 8th in net rating. I think if your offense is great, your defense doesn't have to be great, right? You can not be as good of a defensive team, and vice versa. If your defense is super great, your offense doesn't have to be, like stellar. But the Knicks have to be able to, at different points in the game, even if not on every possession, be able to come up with timely stops. Be able to tighten it up a little bit. So I just think the way our offense is, if we can get a little better defense in the playoffs with the offense that we already have, you know, provided that that offense, shows up in the playoffs, that's a swing factor for the Knicks. The Knicks can score without Randle, without Brunson. The Knicks, I mean, okay, it was an Indiana game. It was against Indiana. Maybe I shouldn't get too excited, but I just believe, I just believe that
I
the Knicks can score the ball.
mean,
If the defense takes a step up in addition to the offense, I think that's a swing factor for the Knicks.
so you saying when you, I mean, because this is what I was gonna ask you. Are you saying in addition to the offense as is, or are you going back to your first part, which was shooting and having both swing factors at the same time?
At the same time.
But you think
Yeah. So he's like, now
I
you think
mean
both can happen? Like you
I
really want
mean well, not even that both can happen, but do you think we could win with just one of them?
Yeah, of course. I mean, depending on how well you're shooting the basketball. If you're if the Knicks get into a shootout, yeah, we win.
If we're hit, yeah.
If we're hitting our shots, I just think we have more players that can put the ball in the basket. But I don't anticipate that, right? I do think the Knicks, if they're able to just increase their defense just a notch,
Hmm.
I think that can swing the series. I mean, we're 19th. I mean, if you're talking about just defensive rating, we're 19th. If you're talking about field goal percentage, defense, 3-point shooting defense, I think we're top 10 in one, and I think 11 in the other. Yeah, but if they can just turn that defense up a little bit, yeah, it could be a swing factor in this game, in the series.
So hit. I'm gonna
People don't
amend.
believe in our deep. You don't believe we can turn our defense up a little
I mean,
bit, just a
I
little bit.
mean, let's start with your defense real quick, because I mean I could go into what you said, what I say, but let's start with the defense. What do you think it is about this year that our defense hasn't been the catalyst in what has driven this team to success? Because you obviously you can't say Tibbs has, you know, changed his defensive philosophy or switched his motto from defense to offense. He's amended things offensively, but I think defensively, like you still gotta be like, all right, Tibbs is a defensive coach, right? Like I don't think he's changed philosophies. So what do you think? What do you think it is about the defense this year that just hasn't looked the same in statistically.
Right. I mean, we was talking about this, earlier. I just think we just don't have those defensive players, like we used to have. I don't think Brunson is not a good defensive player. RJ's defense, has regressed some. Randle can play defense, but you're asking a lot. If you're asking him the load that he takes on the offensive end, and then you're asking him to lock in defensively on every single possession, that's a big ask. So you have Mitch and you have Grimes, who are committed to the defensive end on every single possession. And obviously Josh Hart when he gets in the game,
Mm-hmm.
and quickly. We just don't have, the defensive players, particularly in that starting unit. That being said, there comes a time in the game where you need a timely stop. And that's why I think Randall can turn it up a little bit for possession,
Mm-hmm.
or so. Brunson can try. I think Brunson tries all game,
Mm-hmm.
but he's, that's just not his forte.
Yeah, one of I think the biggest problems with this team, especially compared to the 2 years ago, um, because I think we have the same type of scrappy defenders. I think we don't have they don't have the same size. When you talk about a Josh Hart, you know what I mean? He's a dog out there offensively and defensively, but he's 6'5". You know what I mean? So chances are he's going to be working as hard as he can every possession, but he's going against somebody 6'7". You know what I mean? Maybe even a 4 at 6'8". You know what I mean? So where Bullock was 6'7".
Right.
You know what I mean? You mentioned I ain't even gonna say it. Well, Alfred Payton, you know what I mean, was six
Six
or
four.
what
He's like
four
6'4",
at,
yeah.
at the point guard, so he could, you know what I mean. And who am I missing?
And
Somebody else.
Noel.
Burke. You said Burke already?
Burks, Alec Burks. You know what I mean. Like even him at that one spot or at that two spot. Um, even at a bit undersized at the three, but that was about it. You know what I mean. But we had that length. So I think the philosophy's there, the attitude is there, everything is there. We're just a little undersized at every spot. You know what I mean? So I think that's the biggest thing. Uh, but we've seen stretches this year where the defense has picked up. I don't think we were actually winning games per se. We were probably
Mhm.
still like teetering 500
Mhm.
when the defense was doing what it was supposed to. But suddenly, once the offense started clicking, it just turned around crazy.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Anything you guys want to piggyback off of, or um,
No, I don't think we're gonna turn it around and be a good defensive team on every possession. But there's some times where we need to really lock in, and I'd like to see more of it.
it's gonna have to. I mean, crunch time, right? Fourth quarter. That's the biggest. That's where we gonna need it the most, right? We don't necessarily need it, throughout the game. Not saying we don't, but you know what I mean. When it comes down to that fourth quarter close game, I mean, or those stop the bleeding moments. I guess that could be any time
Right.
in the game.
Right. That's what I was about to say. If you don't want the game to get away from you, either, and you don't even have a chance in the fourth quarter, right? So there may be times even before the fourth quarter where you need to clamp down a little bit more. Hopefully they trying to defend as best they can anyway, but there's times where you really have to clamp down a little bit more. And then you're asking more of Randall during those times.
Let's transition. I guess.
Mhm.
Um, you s- actually, I did want to modify. I'm actually gonna, instead of saying quickly Grimes, I'm gonna group them into together, and I'm gonna say just I'm gonna add the depth at the bench. So the bench, I think that could be a
That's
huge
yeah. Forgot about that.
huge swing factor. I mean, because we're talking about quickly, you know what I mean. So we could add him in that segment as well. But
Mhm.
we're talking about Hart. You know, we're talking about Hartenstein, who's been playing his best basketball as of late. You know what I mean? Really turned things around going into the stretch. Uh, Ob, you know what I mean, and ended the season strong. Um,
Mhm.
we don't know if Randle's gonna be 100% coming in, if he's gonna even be available for game one. So I mean, Obi's gonna be relied upon possibly. Um, you know what I mean. So his play has been encouraging. Our bench is deep. Let's not even forget that. I mean, our situational guys have stepped up all year long. So even those guys are liable to be able to come in and, if not produce at a high level, at the very least give somebody a breather, if need be, or cover some foul trouble moments. So I think the bench is going to be huge. I mean, I'm not really even familiar with who's coming off their bench. I know they got Rubio. I would give quickly the edge in that matchup. Who else they got? Karis
Harrison
LeVert.
Bird.
Mhm.
I'm going with Hart in that matchup head to head. Even though he is a bucket, you know what I mean. I'm not sleeping on him, but I mean, you going up at starter level defense with Josh Hart, right? You know what I mean? And you could argue he's starter level offense, right? But on the flip side, the defense is I think Rubio's considered a defensive player, but I give quickly the edge offensively against his defense.
Right.
Um, Levert is definitely considered an offensive player, but I'll say at the very least, Hart can match up evenly with him, slow him down offensively, make him work defensively, and defensively, Karis LeVert is not very assertive. We'll say. Who else is on the bench?
I'm not sure
Seti
who's starting.
Osman.
Yeah, Cedi Osman. Are they going to start a Coro? Is a Coro coming off the bench? Um, I don't know. I was looking at the last few times we've played them, and the starting lineup
Yeah,
changed
switched
a bit.
up a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think if a Corals, I mean, I don't know if he ended the season healthy or not, but I would think if he's healthy, he's starting because I would think they would rather him guarding one of our
They're gonna
guards.
throw him on Brunson
You know what I
from the jump.
mean?
Definitely,
Yeah.
From
yeah.
the jump.
I agree.
Than Mitchell or Garland. Excuse
I
me.
agree.
Um, but yeah, um, bench. So yeah, I agree. Bench, swing factor in our favor.
No doubt about it. That might be the biggest.
Mm,
Well, I mean, what Tibbs is going to utilize. Is he going to go with an 8-man rotation? Is he going to include Opie
mm.
in with the 9-man rotation? Not to say he won't, but I'm just saying like what's his idea? If Julius comes back healthy, it is the playoffs. He's going to play his guys heavy minutes to win the game. Opie, he gets his little 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Will it continue to go back to that? So, but of course, we know Quickly is going to get his. We know Josh Hart is definitely going to get his. And
And
depending on how
Hartenstein.
Mitch play and
Mhm.
Hartenstein is going to get crucial
Yeah, I think
minutes. So
even Mitch playing phenomenal, you still
you
got to
still, yeah,
pencil Hartenstein in with close to or at least minimum 20
yeah,
minutes. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
even if Mitch is playing well, now if Mitch is playing well and he's not, you know what I mean, that always changes things. But he's been on a tear. Um, yeah, so I definitely give it. I agree. I think that might be the biggest
yeah,
actual swing factor of the series at the very least. You,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Because that's something that could actually be a constant. That could be every game. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where these other things maybe one game three. You know what I mean? Then game four, whatever the case.
I will say, as far as points per game, it's even. between our bench and theirs. I think it's like 29 points per game. I even ran it after the All-Star break. It's still the same, about 29 um, points per game. What I didn't run yet was in the 4 games in which we've played them. Which bench, which bench was better. Um, so that I don't know. But on the season, both benches average about the same.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty interesting.
Shout out to Josh in the chat. Josh is going live soon. Don't miss the controversy. He said, great question. Is Tibbs gonna overuse the starters? I don't. I actually have a little bit more faith that Tibbs will adjust, and I say adjust to the sense we've seen it already this year. I mean, granted, it wasn't the playoffs, but we've seen it where he's given the second unit. First of all, we've seen the second unit win games. We've seen the second unit close a game. We've seen the second unit, or at least members of it, get extended minutes. Like he was closing with uh
Quickly,
Quickly or
Brunson,
Grimes
Hart
or
team.
Hart, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, as opposed to RJ at times. So you've seen that adjustment where one of those guys get extended minutes based off of how they're playing that game or what is needed at that time. Probably shooting. So I think the only question about overusage would probably be Randle, and I would think if he's coming back, even with him coming back from this injury, that would be more pause to like monitor his minutes or restrict his minutes. You know what I mean? As the series progresses, so even in that aspect, I don't see him coming back first game 38 minutes. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I would be surprised.
I'm
Now call
sorry,
me
Tone.
crazy, call me delusional, if
Sorry,
you will.
Tone. I'm going against that. I think if he got the cue to go, Julius first game back is probably 42 minutes.
All right,
Brunson.
He hasn't even
if
played
he's li-
42 minutes now.
if he's
Oh,
listed
right,
if he's
because this
listed
is
as
playoffs, though.
if he's
Like,
listed as
look at
questionable,
just look at
it-
Tibbs. Well, I can't. I'm sorry to throw the stat out because it's kind of irrelevant. But look at Tibbs went during the playoff times and how long he plays his players. His big time players average 40 minutes during the playoffs. Like I
my,
said, I stated it's irrelevant because these are other teams that we're referring to. But that
my question is this though: if he's listed as questionable and then plays,
so,
you
but that's
think
what I
it, you
said
think
though.
it's
I
you think
said
it's
if
still
he's like healthy, he's not even on the injury list by the
okay?
time we
Okay,
get to the midweek.
okay,
Then I'm like, all right,
okay.
Jules is ready. Jules is ready to roll. But if he has an injury like Brunson still has the lingering
Lingering.
wrist thing. Do I
Right,
expect
right,
Brunson to play 40? No. But
Okay,
I give the
okay.
30 something things of that nature. But
right, right.
and plus you got Quickly still able to come in and still keep the same production with that. So, but if Randle is good, and you see the faith that he has in Opie. The first night that Julius got hurt, Opie did not. He started that first third quarter and still sat maybe the rest of the entire game. And I'm like, he's hurt. Play Opie. It wasn't until the following couple games that Opie got more minutes, but he just needed to. I don't know. That's why I think the in-game adjustment for Tibbs is going to be the issue. It's the end games. Later on he could adjust to say, "Hey, all right, that happened that game. Game 2 would be different." But to sit there and tweak it in the games, I don't know if Tibbs could go against some of his situations.
I mean, personally, there's enough rest between games. I'm not really worried about how much minutes the starters are getting.
Right.
They're going to have an opportunity to rest given how the games are spread out.
My bad. Shout out to the chat, Sharon. I was gonna get you. I see you. I see you corrected yourself. I got you. What up, Josh?
What's
Welcome.
going on? Good evening. How y'all doing?
What's going on? What's going on?
Good. I mean, come on in. You can come in hot. You can come in hot.
No.
I,
I
I know
actually
you
agree
on.
with
I know
everything.
you on a time restraint. So
No. I'm just listening. Just wanted to chime in this a little bit. I think the tips question is very, very important. here because we still. I think game one we'll know what Tibbs and how Tibbs is going to be able to what he's going to do in regards to the lineups are concerned. But I think I don't want to call it an issue because it hasn't happened yet. But I think that is a huge question mark going into the first round series. How Tibbs is going to be able to manage his starters and getting their minutes and the bench unit, right? I think what we've been seeing with the bench unit over the past month or so is what I would like to see from the Knicks moving forward in regards to that change of pace, right? Because sometimes the game slows down too much. Brunson and Randle will overuse the basketball and dribble the air out the basketball, and we're not able to get good shots out of that. So I think the bench unit is a good change of pace. However, I'm not sure how Tibbs is going to be able to use that come the first round playoff series. Hopefully, it's like what we've seen, but I think that's a huge question. Still yet to be seen.
We won't know until we see it, but I think it's been all year relatively that he's used the lineups. Since he's went to the 9-man rotation, it's kind of been that way. The difference is we've had injuries throughout the time, so a lot of times people in our bench unit had to come in and start. You know what I mean? Or a situational guy had to come in and start. So it's things like that. But I think he's adjusted this year. I think that's one of the things we've seen all year. I think him.
I don't think it was the 9-man rotation. I think it was the acquisition of Josh Hart. So I'll agree with you, but I'll say it was that moment of the season where we started to see a lot more of the bench unit come in due to injury and what have you. But it's not necessarily about starting.
He's more versatile too. He can
Absolutely.
play multiple positions, so it's easier to plug him in with a bunch of different lineups.
No question about that. So I'm just hoping Tibbs, and I think Josh Hart will play a lot of minutes come playoff time, and I think Emmanuel Quickley will play a lot of minutes come playoff time. Obi, I don't know. I really don't know about that. I like the way Obi's been playing from an offensive standpoint, but I think defensively he'd be a little bit of a liability out there, and I'm not sure if Tibbs wants to put him out there going up against the Evan Mobley, right, to expose him that way. But I do like the fact that Tibbs has it in his repertoire, and he can be able to go to it whenever we are not shooting that well. Because personally, for me, up until the last couple months of the season, the Knicks were not shooting that great. They were towards the bottom of the league in three-point field goal percentage. And a lot of that, in my opinion, was what I was concerned about in regards to can the Knicks be able to change up the pace. We got Josh Hart in there, boom, start pushing the pace, and then we went, since the Josh Hart trade, I think we're first in offensive rating around the league, right? So I think it's a weapon that Tibbs has in his arsenal. I'm just anxious to see if he's going to be able to use it.
Yeah. I'm gonna transition into Quickley and Grimes. As you know, swing factors for sure. If Grimes can continue the stretch that he's been on this past, I'll say month or so, and Quickley, I swear he's on the verge of stardom. You know what I mean? So if he just continues being himself, Emmanuel Quickley, yeah, I think we're gonna I'm gonna lump them together, but I think we got two guys that could actually match, points potentially for some of those high risk guys on the other team. You know what I mean? Like definitely a Garland. I think Quickley could kind of match his production, or Grimes could potentially match his production on any given night. You know what I mean? So when we got those type of guys, one coming off the bench, one in the starting unit, if Randle does what he's supposed to do, I think Grimes again. Brunson can match, Spider game for game. That's advantage us, because I don't know if they have two other guys that could give you 20 or 30 or even 40. You know what I mean? When we talking about Emmanuel Quickley on their bench. So, huge advantage. He don't got to do it every game, but I think he could win us a game or two. Let him get on one of them hot stretches where he feel like dancing on the court, because he, he got the players dancing on the court. Hey, he could win us a game for sure. what your guys' thoughts on Grimes or Quickly potentially winning us a game in the series?
Highly likely for me. I like both of those guys. Quentin Grimes, to me, I mean, listen, and this is why I didn't want to take him out of that starting lineup when a lot of people are clamoring for Josh Hart, because his catch and shoot ability is what helps our offense, right? And granted, he wasn't making the shots early in the season, as many shots early in the season, but he was the best on the team, and from the catch and shoot perspective, right? And based on how the Knicks run their offense, the kickouts, Randle kicking out to the corner or to the wing, Grimes, that's his spot on the floor. And the Knicks really don't have anybody else, in my opinion, that shoots the ball like him. Right. And now he's just in his bag now. Now he's shooting the basketball much better. He's putting the ball on the floor. He's dishing. His IQ, offensive IQ, is just, I mean, it's great. You know what I'm saying? So I like Quentin Grimes, and Quickly, to me, I think that's the biggest X factor. I don't want to give away too much of my show, what I have going on in about 20 minutes, but that's my biggest X factor. I think at the end of games, Emmanuel Quickly is going to be out there on the floor. And I personally, if Randle and Brunson are getting double teamed or not playing that well, I want the ball in Quickly's hands to set those guys up and turn them into finishers.
I think one of our biggest disagreements on live was when you kept saying we got to go get another ball handler, but then you ended up amending it and saying Quickly could be that.
Because I always said that it was Quickly. I said I wanted Quickly to be the ball handler.
Well, initially you were saying we got to go get that. Like that was what you kept saying, and
I still do think we need to go get that guy. I still do.
I mean, okay. I'm telling you, Emmanuel. Okay. We thinking, Queen. Oh, you muted.
To your original question about IQ and Grimes, I'm starting to think about it more globally. Like behind Randle and Brunson, we need somebody that's going to come through if they're double team trapped, whatever it is. If Quickly is off one night, it could be Grimes, it could be Hartenstein, it could be somebody else. I don't think it necessarily anymore has to be just perimeter shooting. We just need people to score. So if they're double teaming them guys and we're getting perimeter shooting, that's great as well. But if the ball is going to RJ Barrett and he's not great that game on the catch and shoot, but he's taking it to the rack and he's finishing, that bodes well for us also, because now they can't just key on those two guys, right? So do I think IQ can play at a high level? Absolutely. Do I think Grimes can play at a high level? Absolutely. I still think the playoffs are a different type of animal, so we shall see. That's for everybody on our team. But now I'm more thinking about it as it doesn't have to be every one of those guys every single night, right? We need 2 or 3 of them. It could be different. It can be different ones to come through for us when they're doubling up on those guys.
I'm gonna ask everybody the same question, but I want to ask you specifically, Delusional. When we are naming our swing factors, is it a swing factor that could swing either way? So when I say that, are you saying that we need this to win the series, or are you saying if this happens, we will win this? You know what I mean? Like we won't win it without this happening,
right?
And then at the same time, can it swing the other way? And does that become all right? We're not winning if it because the reason I asked that with the Tibbs thing, you mentioned Tibbs as a swing factor,
Yeah.
but it sounds also like there's concern there with the minutes and the minutes distribution, or at least some fans have that. So I mean that's kind of like Tibbs, but swinging in the wrong in the opposite direction.
Right.
As a negative or as opposed to a positive. So your swing factors, if those don't happen, can we still win the series?
All right, so we start with Tibbs. Just coaching in general. With the minutes, it's always a situation regarding the playoffs. So that's just with anything. And we're uncertain with Tibbs on how. Well, me per se, I'm uncertain with how he's going to manage the minutes because we saw how the offense ran, where you had Hartenstein at the top of the key with OB and everybody else, and the ball movement with Quick running it. That's solid because there's no pressures during the regular season. We're talking the playoffs right now, where every possession kind of matters. Every bucket matters. Just one game that can dictate everything. If we come in and win this first game, and Tibbs were able to adjust when he sees certain things happening, or if Quickley got it going, and you saw Brunson started slow, where he continued with Quickley to a certain time period, and then try to implement Brunson in between there. It's just figuring that out. So I believe, yes, that plays a major role on how we win because for the most part, if they go into a zone and we continue to put like RJ in the middle of the zone instead of putting a different player that can shoot from the middle of the zone or someone that can actually play, make, and dish it out, but he continuously to put maybe Hartenstein there and he does a floater and is constantly missing and he doesn't switch it up. Not to say that dictates the entire game, but it's just like, hey, we saw this happen numerous times. We couldn't get out of the zone. We couldn't break the zone. Or, we're still hedging on certain plays when we could have switched on the pick and roll. And Donovan Mitchell is constantly getting to the paint and knocking down mid-range jump shots. There's ways to combat that. If you see it happening on multiple plays, you're like, all right, when are we going to switch that? Because there's been plenty of times where I'm sitting there watching a game and they're running zone. And I'm like, all right, zone, we learned how to break zone in literally your kindergarten games, stuff like that. Yes, it's pretty simple how to break a zone, but you do need shooters there to also do that, and as well as ball movement. But then when you see the plays that it's like for literally 10 possession in the shot clock of the zone, nobody gets middle. You're like, wait, what's going on? Like y'all running your constant pick and rolls on the top, and I get that to shift at the top of it, but you attack the zone in the middle and below. So it's one of those situations.
I don't think the zone has killed us this year like it did last year, though. You out here, Josh?
But it's
no. I was just yeah.
Question. So you think the zone shouldn't kill anybody in the NBA? I'm just being honest.
Yeah,
I think the zone kills lineups. But
if you don't have shooters,
to your credit, you know what I mean. Like if you made a good point about RJ because I've seen that play numerous of times, and it's like, but I don't know if I've seen it like that particular play. I know you wasn't talking about that particular play, but we didn't see that 10 times in a row. You know what I mean? Like, so I think Tibbs adjust. Like if they go into the zone for an ample amount of time, I think he puts better shooting out. You know what I mean? Like guys that could
but he does it late and we're already down by 10 where we couldn't score for 5 minutes of the game. Right. You see if the guys can work it out, but that's like I said, it's just me and the adjustment time period. Certain coaches you'll see, okay, they go into this. All right, we're going to utilize this like right there. They're not going to wait 4 possessions. They're going to see, okay, let me try to switch it up to see if that works. Okay, that doesn't work. We'll switch it up constantly. So I just figure other coaches' books are pretty much plays are longer than Tibbs. Tibbs usually like to see the analytics after, then make adjustments after rather than in game. So that's just I think that's it. If Tibbs make adjustment in games, we win. If he has to wait to the next following game to make the adjustment, that's when I think we're playing catch up, and we probably playing catch up.
I agree with you, but I think there's 2 parts to that. It's about him making the adjustments, but it's also about the players being able to execute the adjustments, right? So it's not automatic. The adjustment equals a win. They have to be able to execute it.
I agree.
And what portion of the game does he have to adjust to? You know what I mean? Like it may be crunch time. I mean, because I think even for the most part with the Knicks, it hasn't been anything that has killed us for an entire game, or you know what I mean, or it's killed us and then we didn't figure it out. You know what I mean? Now if it's something using it that's used at the very end of the game, maybe that's something that could hurt us. You know what I mean?
It put us in position to where we had to play catch up, and then we eventually
Floyd goes
took
off
over
there, yeah.
and won once we, switched it up. But for it's certain times where they run zone and we haven't scored in 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. And then the team would catch up when we had large leads. So those are probably the concerning aspect, is maintaining those large leads when they go to the zone.
Can I just add? I think that's where the ball movement comes in and the man movement, right? The Knicks started implementing that when we got the Josh Hart thing. People were moving around, and I don't think teams are running that much zone on us. I mean, we saw it, but the Knicks were able to execute much better because there was man movement. In regards to what you said in regards to in-game adjustments, I think come playoff time, I would like to see in-game adjustments, but I think from a game-to-game basis, I would like to see Tibbs make the adjustment because during the regular season, you play one team and then you play a team with a whole different philosophy, right? So you have, I don't want to say it's all right, but come playoff time, you're playing that same exact team. So this is where coaching really comes into play from game to game. Right. So game one, Tibbs may do something that works well, and then Cleveland will go ahead and adjust. So vice versa. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to that. It doesn't have to be in game, I would say, as much as it needs to be from game to game.
Right.
No doubt.
So question, one real thing. So let's say Julius comes out, right? 1 for 10 first quarter. How do you think that's going to play out as far as Tibbs? Like, is Tibbs going to bring Opie in to early in that first quarter to kind of ease, or you think he's going to keep him in and let him play that out? What's that?
I think Obi is a package deal. I don't think Obi comes in by himself and can, I guess, right the ship in that regard. I think if you see Obi out there on the floor because Julius is having a off shooting night, I think then Quickley's coming in and you have the rest of the reinforcements because Obi is not himself a self starter. You know what I mean? I mean, he can get some stuff in transition, right? But he's not a guy that from a half court perspective is going to get you anything, right? So he's like someone fast paced, Knicks get a steal and he can go the other way. So I think it's going to be the rest of the reinforcements with Obi, not just Obi by himself.
But will Tibbs sit Randle is my pretty much Randle. Okay.
Because this is to me, Tibbs' philosophy is old school. He's going to go down with his players.
Right.
Period. And he's going to give them an opportunity to right the ship. So if Randle gets off to a bad start, he's not going to pull him. And put somebody else in. I don't really see anything changing in terms of the rotations, quite frankly, in terms of when they come in and when they come out. Now, sometimes, not all the time, if a team really does have a role, sometimes he'll give them extended minutes. He doesn't even do that all the time, but sometimes he will. Yeah, sometimes he will do it. So no, if Randle, I've seen Randle go. We've seen RJ go from they just stay in the game till it's their time to come out. I'm not sure how much of that changes.
And
I agree.
To
agree with that as well. Or you just more so just like, hey, this is Tibbs, we're gonna rock with it.
I mean, that's what he does. You know what I mean? Like
he's not the only one too. People act like Tibbs is doing something special. You do have some coaches that will do that, but a lot of coaches have their rotation set when the time that guys come in and time goes out. They'll deviate from it sometimes, but it's not like every game they just rolling and looking for the hot hand and rolling with the hot. Like it just doesn't happen.
Especially in the first quarter. I think if something like that will happen more towards second quarter, third quarter, something like that. Not in the first quarter.
And to Josh's credit, I agree. It wouldn't be a 1-for-1 substitution. You know what I mean? It would have to be clearly. At least a 2-for-2 substitution, if not larger, because of a bunch of different reasons. You know what I mean? And no, I mean I do agree with Tibbs. You know what I mean? Like to me, like for any coach to work, you know what I mean? If you're the player, you gotta buy in. You know what I mean? Like you can't you gotta understand who he is and his position and buy in. If you're not bought in, then it could be a detriment. If you're bought in, you know what it is. You do what you got to do when it's your turn, when it's your time, and then make the decision difficult. You know what I mean? But no, I agree. Queen, did you want to add any? Did you want to answer like as far as your swing factors? Were they a swing factor that can go either way, or was it a swing factor that you said? Were you saying we needed that to win? Or if this happens, you know what I mean, it's more like a surefire win.
To me, that's the difference between the swing factor and the X factor. Like an X factor is that thing that if it does happen, it makes, if X happens, it makes Y more likely. But a swing factor to me is something that could swing a series both ways.
Both
I
ways.
think the Knicks, um, I'm broadening it more from perimeter shooting, but just the Knicks perimeter shooting or scoring off of Randle and Brunson, that's a swing factor. If we can get
Mhm.
that, it just,
Yeah.
now Cleveland has to choose. What are you going to do? You're going to double or you're going to play them straight up? That's a swing factor. That can swing the entire series.
Series.
Yeah.
And
in my
make it
opinion. And
short.
that's an obvious swing factor in
And
my
make it short.
Yes, general one.
Yeah.
uh man,
Tony,
well
I'm
I'm gonna
gonna head out. I'm gonna head out right now. I got my
yes,
game on 5 minutes.
appreciate you,
Salute.
bro.
Just wanted to come in and show some love real quick.
I'm sure we'll be there shortly.
Appreciate it.
No doubt. I lost my train of thought. Oh, I wanted to add to that the free throw shooting. I mean, you talk about swinging the other way. I mean, we've had games where we would 55%, 50%.
But in those games, the Knicks were shooting lights out, so it didn't really hurt us.
We talk about playoffs where
Right.
1 point, 2 point, 3 point. You know what I mean? The Knicks missed 6 free throws. Like come
Right.
on, like you that could swing a game and a series.
Right.
And that might be on the negative end. That might be one of the biggest concerns for me, for the simple fact that I mean, even our surefire free throw shooters have been shaky.
Yeah. Brunson has missed a few down the stretch, right?
Quickly.
Mhm.
I mean, quickly, not so much down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
But
You
to
know what I
start the
mean?
games here, go
It'd be
one for
it'd
two.
be
Yeah.
random. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
again, you start thinking about that at the end of the game, you lose by 1. You know what I mean? You lose by 2. So that might be one of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest concerned areas, like, because I mean we can end up getting to the line, not converting our free throws, and and they're putting points up. So now it's like, oh, the Knicks only got 4 shot attempts up because they got to the line 8 times, but they shot 4 for 8. You know what I mean? Because those don't count as shot attempts once you at the line.
Right.
So you know what I mean? Like, so those count against your possessions. So if you know on one side it's free possessions, right? When you making them, but when you're not making them, now they're empty possessions. Now they half a possessions.
Right.
So yeah, I think that could be one of the biggest swing factors on the opposite spectrum. Any negatives? I mean, that's what I want to, so I mean, Queen kind of clarified the swing could go either way.
I think that's my definition of
No,
it.
I mean that
That's
makes perfect sense. I guess I would modify. I mean, because I don't think we need Grimes to score 20 every game. You know what I mean? I don't think we need Quickley to score. So I guess those would be X factors more so than swing factors. Free throws would probably be a swing factor. Randle, I see
RJ
why.
is an X factor. Because I think we can win the
Yes.
series without RJ. I think we've been playing the whole season with him being up and down, not really knowing what we're going to get from game to game. If that continues, we're used to playing that way. But if he turns it up, that's an X factor, right? I'm not going in there expecting RJ
Expecting it.
Barrett to play better than he's playing this season. But if he does, changes a lot.
What do you
Yeah.
want more from RJ? You want more defense or more offense? What do you think for this series
Mm,
would be great for us to kind of like a role that he can play that's like, yo, you do this, we're good.
That's a
If it's
very good question.
if it's for
Right?
this series,
Because I think that's a good one
for
too.
this
That's a good
series,
question.
Yeah.
I would say offense, and I only say that because I don't think he's going to be matched up against the bigger offensive threats of that team. So the fact that now,
He's gonna have to help out though. There's gonna be a lot of
if
pick and rolls.
I mean now you think he's gonna be targeted?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Because if he's being targeted, now I'm saying defense. And just be the RJ you've been all year offensively. We could get by that. You know what I mean? That is a great question.
That is a great question because offensively, and I'm not. I'm saying I'm starting with the offense. I'm not saying we don't need him defensively,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
but offensively, when RJ is in his bag, and I'm not even talking about that 3-point shooting bag because I'm just at the point I just want him to leave that alone. But I just want him to leave it alone. 0 for 9,
Close the bag.
8, like I'm over the 3-point shooting, at least for this year. But when he's attacking the basket and finishing, when he's in the post with that floater, when he's looking for other people, he don't have those games often, but he'll have games where he's in such flow.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to the basket. If you come over, he's dishing it off to the open person. You said, this is what I'm talking about, RJ. And then another game, he's barreling into the lane, not really looking to see who's open. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna take what I can get from RJ Barrett. Defensively, he's been better though. People may not want to admit it, but he's been better defensively.
I'm gonna go defensively because because your question is step up. We can live what we're getting offensively from him, right? That don't mean the offense is gonna dwindle. So I'm gonna pick defensively, and you keep doing what you've been doing on the offensive end. I'm going defense.
Yeah, I'm going defense as well.
Okay.
But let me throw out another X factor if you don't mind, or a swing, as you can say. And this is kind of leaning towards Cleveland. If Cleveland utilized their bigs like they need to, then it'll be a long night for us. Because they could take away the rebounding for us, less possessions on the offensive boards, defensive boards. They can clog the paint. We like to get into the paint and stuff of that nature. So I think that plays a role because when you look at Cleveland games, it's so crazy. It's Donovan Mitchell going ham and Darius Garland. But then you look at everybody else, Allen to have 10, or Mobley will have 14 or 4. It's like they don't get their bigs involved as much. Or then it'd be one game where Allen to have 30, but then everybody else is scoring less. So they don't have that balance, which is good for us. But a swing factor, like you said, it could go both ways. If they kind of utilize that height with the 7-foot, 7-foot front court, and then Isaac Okoro guarding our point guard, could be a long night for us, honestly. So,
you think so? Like,
talk to me, Queen.
If they started, like, I'm trying to see what you're saying. Like, if they started throwing the ball down to Jared Allen in the post against Mitchell Robinson or against Hartenstein, just kind of feeding him. To me, that if they start doing that, then that's less shots Garland is taking, and that's less shots Donovan Mitchell is taking. But we do risk foul trouble with Mitchell Robinson.
And that's Queen. That's where I was going.
Mitchell Robinson down there.
That's our head.
Robinson has to get out of the game because of foul trouble, and now the bigs are being featured, or if the guards are not being contained. And Mitch is having to step away from the bigs, and now the bigs are being, getting dished to and lobs and all that. Yes.
But I trust Hartenstein now. I think his defense has definitely gotten much better than it was earlier. You can get some foul, some block shots at the rim. He's a bit more mobile. It's not like before where he would be right there in front of them and they scoring anyway. Yes. You know what I mean? I think his defense is a little better, and his rebounding. So but that's a good point. Mobley, if he made Randle work, that's a lot of energy Randle would have to put in on both the offense and the defensive end if they made him work. Okoro, I'm telling you guys now, I don't care who they put on Brunson. if Brunson is healthy, he's going to have the edge. People still talking about wingspan and strength and length with Barrett. I mean, Brunson, I'm over it. He may have struggled a game or two against somebody, but for the most part, he's held his own against those
Everybody.
guys. If he's healthy, I'm not worried about Okoro.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I might just be a little worried about the trap.
Oh no, but that's the point. You have to trap him.
Yeah.
That's what's opening up. But I'm talking about one-on-one.
Oh, one-on-one.
I'm not worried at all. I'm not worried at all. But no, a trap, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that should open up, depending on how we swing the ball, that should open up a shot for somebody.
Oh, you talking about them trapping?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I think. I mean, assume if they're trapping, I'm assuming they're trapping either Brunson or Randle, right?
Right.
Like they've been being trapped all year. I will say this though. You know, because I be sneaking in the Cavs chat rooms all over the place trying to get some insight, see what they saying. A lot of them are saying feed Mobley. A lot of them are saying Mobley is being underutilized.
I agree.
The you know what I mean, like he needs to be equal usage rated, you know what I mean, with them guards. And I mean, I don't know if that's something that would be implemented in the playoffs, or if that's something that transpires organically and then becomes, you know, utilized. So that's their swing factor. That's their X factor, if you will. You know, according
How does
to the
that help
Cavs
them, in
fan.
your opinion, if they do?
I mean, I haven't really seen enough of him, like to say to know who he's gonna be ultimately. You know what I mean? Like I think those guys are like kind of projecting his peak and saying like, oh, you know what I mean? They're not using him to his best advantage. I don't know enough of him. I just know he's a high draft pick. You know what I mean? A long, lanky guy. I know he was like very highly touted in his rookie year as well. You know what I mean? And I think people have the Cavs fan, from my take, from listening and reading what they say, is some people think he's overvalued, and some people say he's underutilized, which makes it look like he hasn't taken that next step. Whatever that next step
Right.
they was
Right.
expecting from him, they haven't seen.
Right.
So some people are blaming Donovan, you know what I mean, like, or the guards, and then some people are just like, oh, I thought he would be better this year than you know what I mean. So I think that's where it is with them. At least that's the perception I get from what I'm reading.
I mean, I think if they utilize him more and he's effective, Randle has to work. You know, now you got Randle working on offense and now working on defense, unless you switch Mitchell Robinson onto him, and Randle onto Jared Allen, who's a big dude, you know. Yeah. I mean, this is what you want to do. You want to make the star players on the other team work.
Yeah.
You know, if they utilize Mobley more, Randle will have to work.
Any other concerns or swing factors on the negative side? Whether it be from the Cavs or from us.
Obviously, if they're trapping Randle and Brunson to get the ball out of their hands, and we're not hitting shots, we're not driving to the basket, we're not getting anything out of them, we're gonna lose the series.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's plain and simple, honestly.
Plain and simple. And
I
as a
mean,
matter,
I agree. I can't see that happening. I mean, for a multiple of games. You know what I mean? Like
right?
maybe one game where guys are off. You know what I mean? Like they
Yes.
not hitting those. But the
Well, let me ask
series.
you this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying for the series. I'd be shocked if it looks anything like Atlanta.
Right.
You
Oh
know what I
no,
mean?
I think this is a 7-game series for me. I think.
Wow. I think if the Knicks are shooting right, we can take it in 5 or 6. If the
Yeah,
Knicks are shooting right. But
Well,
let me
I'm
ask you this.
thinking on it.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm putting money on Knicks and 6 just because I want to win big.
Right. But let me ask you this. What if the coaching staff takes a different tack? And instead of doubling Randle and Brunson, saying, listen, we're gonna give Randle his 30. We're gonna give Brunson 30. That's 60. We got to do is play straight up and hold the rest of those guys.
That would be a bad idea
That'd be a
because
real bad
you
idea.
you give Brunson that lane, he's not gonna give you 30. He gonna give you 45.
Yeah, he ain't
You
gonna
know,
stop.
and with Jules is 50-50. He's gonna give you 24 regardless. It's just how he gives you those
It might be
24.
a bad 24. It
Right.
might
It's
be a
just how
good.
he give you the 24s. If it's going to be for him getting to the free throw line or him knocking down threes early, or just but he still would give you the numbers. But you're it makes sense too because everybody else need to put in those buckets. You can only account for so much with those two. So it's a valid point. And then if the defense is locking, then we just need to score but so much. But that's a good one too, though. She's right.
But
They
what if
they could switch it up and just totally shock us and
But
just play them straight up.
but even with that, I think it falls on our guys to hit shots and make shots. You know what I mean? Like I don't think I think Brunson could go for 30, Randall could go for 30, and other guys still produce. Like if they even if they focus on the other guys like Grimes, I think he shoots better when he's being guarded. Yeah, like, for some reason, you know what I
Mhm.
mean. Quickly, you know what I mean. We've seen him command a double team at times, so it's not like I mean with those two guys, they're no slouch as far as creating their own offense, reading the defense, and creating for others too. So yeah, I think that would be a horrible idea for them. We can sweep them if they don't double and they just say straight up all game. Yeah, we that I think would be a problem. And I agree. I think Brunson doesn't stop. He
Oh
don't
yeah,
take his foot off the gas, so
he
it
won't
won't
stop.
be 30. It'll be 45. It'll be 50. You know what I mean? Like it'll be something historic.
it will, but the ball will be in his hands all the time.
Yeah. And
So
everybody else will be cold. So when they do get that moment to knock down that shot, they're cold. And we've seen it with Grimes.
interesting.
When Brunson has those high scoring games, it's probably just him, Julius, and Quick that's really putting up good numbers. Everybody else is kind of subpar during that stretch.
I mean, which is fine with me if we're winning.
Right.
Which is fine with me if we're winning, because at this point in the game, Grimes' role is to play off of those guys. Maybe his role will change next season. He's not somebody that you're going to put the ball in it. I'm not saying he can't do it, but that's just not his role. Where you're going to put the ball in his hands and say, like, Quick, here, you do it. Whether you score for yourself, generate for others, you do it. That's just not his role this season. So if those guys are passing the ball, he's definitely going to get it. If they're in a bag, they not passing it. So Grimes ain't getting it.
Yeah.
Um,
See,
greedy,
but it
greedy.
sounds like we got a lot of uncertainty for the series.
Things can break either way.
Yeah. Well, but I feel
Things can break
confident.
either way.
Knicks is one of the greatest teams on the road, but Cleveland is also a solid home team. So that's why I think that it'll be a great series.
We're
Knicks win it out.
we're
They're a
we're one
solid
of the
road
best.
team.
We're one of the best offensive teams. They're the best defensive team, which is kind of weird. You know what I mean?
So
You would think you would think it flipped around, right? For both of us.
Right.
You would think they would be one of the best offensive teams, which they're not. I think
Who's that? Cleveland.
the Cavs, yeah.
They
But
are.
Cavs is
They
still
top
top
eight.
10 though,
I
right?
mean,
Yeah, they 8th in offensive rating.
Yeah, they still top 10. Yep.
They top 10 in both offense and defense.
And defense.
oh well, I mean, I was looking at. I know they're number one in defense, right? Because I think their lowest like defensive category they're ninth in, and everything else they're like first, third, second, first. You know what I mean? So I was looking at like all the categories offensively and defensively.
Right.
But you said they're 8th overall.
And offense. Top 8.
That's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Shoot.
We're,
I mean,
we're more evenly matched than it look, and they're not a fast. They don't play at a fast pace either. They're 30th in pace. We're 26 in pace. They're slow. They play at a slower pace than they play
Yeah.
30th.
and shout out to I think it was Sharon that put up there's 78 in free throw percentage
free
with
throw percentage,
76.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean, even that that 2% could be a huge difference in where we are as far as the league, but
Mm-hmm.
so maybe they missed some too.
78 with 76.1. Yeah.
Otherwise, you think Tony? I mean, you think Brunson is in Donovan Mitchell's head, where he'll be adding extra pressure on himself? I think it's possible. I think it's possible. I'll tell you what. I know he respects the hell out of him,
He does.
and if I had to put money on it, I would say Donovan will still perform well. Like it's not gonna be in his head to where it's like, how do I beat this guy? I can't beat this guy. Now, if it ends up being, a wash of a series in our favor, then moving forward, then yeah, it may become a thing. You know what I mean? Like I gotta figure out how to beat this guy.
It's
But right
already
now,
a thing.
I don't think right now he's saying I got to figure out how to beat this guy. I think he right now he believes I can beat this guy. You know what I mean? Like not like, oh, I got to figure it out.
Mhm.
I don't know. So look, it goes back to the playoffs where he straight had his coming out game, demolished him, sent him home, had the whole organization ready to pack and get rid of it, right? Then
Mhm.
he comes to Cleveland. It's a statement. You wanted to come to New York. Brunson is here. He's getting all the shine. And we still destroy you 3-1.
3-1.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
But
he came, and you can see Donovan came out balling from the jump. So you could tell when a game means something.
they
Grimes
won.
didn't have a
They won.
chance. I don't care
They
who
won
he
the
had
first
out
one.
there.
They won the first one, right?
They won the first one.
They won the first one.
And that was that he had all the momentum for that one.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think Brunson missed one of the games, right?
Brunson missed. I'll tell you, I have
The
it
last
right
one.
here.
The last one we won without Brunson, didn't we?
No, I think the
Oh,
last
no,
one we
no,
went
no,
without.
we did.
That's when he scored
Yeah,
48.
he got played
that's
48.
Brunson played all of
That's
them.
right. That's right. He did play
Randle
all of
missed
them.
the last one.
Oh, randomly. All right. I mean, if he is in his head, I hope so. That'd be great. You know what I mean? But I don't want it
think
to
so.
be.
You don't think so?
Listen, March, the last game we played, if he was in his head, it would have been 60 if he wasn't.
Well,
I just think Brunson, just is just playing better or just as well as him. But if in your head, do you mean like he's shrinking, like he's not stepping up to the plate, or he's not?
Okay, that's what I thought you meant.
That's what I was thinking.
No,
I feel like
forgive me, guys. No,
I
it's
feel
one
like
of
he's
those
up for the
situations where it's
challenge.
like I gotta show up every time I play against this guy. I don't get to win. I gotta put my all in. I get the best rest that night. I'm making sure I'm zinned out.
Yes,
I'm
I
coming
agree
in
with that 100%.
with like we need like whatever he do, I have to have better numbers, better stats, better everything. Like I think that's that mindset. Not like to the point where it's where you guys would
I
think.
mean,
Definitely not.
do you
Yeah, I
you
mean,
don't
listen,
think
that's how
it's
it was
all
with
about
Mac.
winning though? You don't think he's like, yo, as long as we get the win, or you like, nah, we need to win and I gotta outperform.
So winning counts with certain individuals because winning a series would means a lot. You know, you move on, it's the team, whatever. But for Donovan Mitchell in this series, I think it's more. I think the Brunson aspect adds a little more to it due to what occurred and how he got destroyed. Like he got destroyed. It wasn't like, and he was guarding each other for the most part in that series. And he got destroyed, manhandled, and nobody expected that. So that I think he should have took that personal. And then of course coming to here and the last game you just got dropped to 48 on career high. You know, Brunson came in, put in that work, even though Donovan Mitchell still came back and still had 44. So I just think that's in his head, that's in his mind that yes, even if they lose the series, if he gets hits off and he betters Donovan Mitchell, not to say it'll feel better, but he'd be like, all right, I still got that crown over that aspect, one part of it. But winning the series would be better.
Well, I hope Brunson dropped 48 game one.
Oh, I want Brunson
And
to average at least 38.
Shot say I ain't got arachnophobia.
I ain't got what?
Arachnophobia. I ain't scared of spiders.
Yeah, spiders, definitely.
Yeah, so
I don't know. I mean, I think we could kind of wrap it up here. Queen, what time you
I'm going
9
on
o'clock,
it.
right?
I'm going on at 9.
9 o'clock. We'll be on the Queen's Court. Delusional. You got anything coming up this week?
Right now I'm just gonna drop out some stagnant videos of what to expect for the playoffs. Can Tibbs make the adjustment? Can other players step up besides the main crew? So I'm gonna be dumping out a lot of videos this week before the playoffs. Just throwing out scenarios like we talked about today, just my perspective. So definitely look out for that.
Okay.
Definitely will. Anybody? I mean, y'all could go catch the tail end. I'm glad y'all still with me. Controversies on. We're gonna go catch the tail end of that. And then 9 o'clock, right there, MBK again, Queen's Court. Queen, what you got coming up?
Yeah, I'm working on the slides now, so I mean, maybe I'll have the controversy in the background. We're gonna talk about, we'll get an opportunity just to talk about the regular season and just what we've thought about it. Give flowers to whoever you want to give flowers to, as we head into the playoffs, and then we're gonna break down Cleveland. Go over the 4 games that we've played against them, who started in those games, go over what to expect in this series, and just kind of basically get everybody's idea on pretty similar to this, your concerns, what you're looking forward to going into the series.
Sounds
My
like
bad.
a
No
phenomenal
doubt.
show.
I was muted. Yeah, I got I'm working on a show with a Cleveland Cavs fan. And I'm hoping
That's what I was gonna look to do too. Cool.
I'm hoping he could get a couple of his buddies in, and I'm really just gonna pick their brain about what they think about the Knicks. It's almost like the information I get from the Losers Lounge, but
right. But also pick their brain on have some questions for them on their players too. Things we want to know, like that Mobley thing was interesting.
I mean that's gonna be one of my main focuses because that's kind of one of the people that I got it from somebody from the chat.
Okay.
So that's definitely gonna be one of the things. But yeah, I think they may be a little sneaky. I don't know how much information they're gonna give on their players. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, what we gonna do? Give it to the coaching staff?
That's true.
The coaches pretty much know everything they need to know about Cleveland right now.
That's a fact. If
they don't, we got some problems. In Nick in the front or in the coaching staff, we got problems.
But man, appreciate
lastly, wait, before we go, you guys are heading to game 4. I saw the tickets.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out if I don't have to travel during that time period. If I don't have to travel, Queen, I'm in there unless we sold out already.
It's sold out.
It's sold out? Okay, cool.
It's sold out.
But the Knicks themselves may have.
Well, I think Omni was doing the same thing around in that
Okay.
time period and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I was like, I'd rather rock with you guys, And,
Well, you
But
know what? I don't think they're gonna be counting who's in our lounge. Will they? Will they have somebody outside the lounge making sure nobody else can come in?
I don't know who's smart got in. I don't know who's smart got like yo. But yeah, I don't think because you could stay. There's like a standing area as well, so I'm pretty sure you could.
Nah,
Yeah,
but
if you
it's-
can get in, you could come up.
Yeah,
all right, sounds good.
it's
Yeah,
on
we'd
the
love
it's
to
on
see
the
you.
it's on the bridge, right?
Yes,
It's, yeah.
from
So
what I understand. Yeah.
all right, yeah, we out of here. See ya
Oh,
guys.
I just want to say one more thing. I dropped a podcast, audio podcast. So wherever you get your stream, your podcast episodes, Dope Soul Sports Talk, Dope Soul Knicks Talk, go. My latest episode, I'm talking about, just this season, what I like about the Knicks, what I thought was the swing factors in the Knicks being successful this season, and then also a quick preview of the Cleveland New York series. So I uploaded that this morning.
No doubt. And yeah, we out of here. Peace, Knicks fam.